Welcome to this prior part tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to go over selection statements. A selection statement is a good method of branching paths in your program. For example, you might not always know what the user is going to input, and you want to try and take action for every single input they could possibly put. Let's start with an example. I'll ask the user to enter something, and I'll store it in a variable. Let's store a number, and make that equal an input. And let's ask the question so the user knows what to enter. Now I want a condition. I want to check the condition to see if the input is less than 5, greater than 5, or equal to 5. To do this, let's start a selection statement. We start every selection statement with an if statement. Every selection statement you start, or every selection block you start, always has to start with an if statement. It can also only have one if statement per selection block. After the if, we're going to use a condition. To do this condition, we're going to need to use something called a relational operator. A relational operator could either be greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, not equal to, and equal to. Notice equals to has two equal signs. This is because a single equal sign is reserved for an assignment operator. Also notice that not is defined as an exclamation mark, not equal to. Let's say if number is greater than 5, and then we're going to use a little colon. The colon means then. In total, this line means if the number is greater than 5, then do something. If I press enter, you'll notice it automatically gives me this bit of space at the beginning. This is important in Python as the spacing dictates whether something belongs inside something or not. You'll see what I mean in a bit. In this case, we'll say print number is greater than 5. If I want to continue this, I can either write another if statement to start a new one, or I can continue this one by writing elif. Elif is short for else if. If you don't want all the conditions to run, as would happen if you wrote if, then you can use elif to say if this condition is not true, then check this condition. Otherwise it'll run both of them. In this case, let's write if elif number is less than 5, then print number is less than 5. Let's do another elif as well if it's equal to. So if number is equal to 5, we'll print number is equal to 5. Notice I can use elif as many times as I want to, as long as it starts with an if statement. Let's look at the indentations now. You might have noticed this indentation here, here, and here. If I click the little side buttons over here, you'll notice it shows that it's inside each of the statements. Now, what if the user types in something that has nothing to do with the number 5? We can use a bucket or a catch-all term to catch any answer that we couldn't anticipate. In this case, the command is called else. Else does not take a condition because it's what happens if everything else fails. Else always goes at the bottom of an if statement block, and else does not have a condition and it's only used once. In this case, we'll say print error, I don't understand. Let's now run the program and see what happens. If I type in the number 5, I get an error. This error says greater than is not supported between instances of string and int. This is because my input is by default a string data type. So to ensure that this is only a number, I have to make sure I type in int to turn it into a number. Remember the typecasting from last lesson. Let's run this again. If I enter 5, Again, number is equal to 5. If I run the program again, and this time I enter 8, you'll notice it says number is greater than 5. This will work with any number. Let's now do a user input or a login system. We'll type in a username here and take it in with an input. We'll alert the user what we want to do, so enter a username. And let's do a password as well. Input, enter a password. Now we want to check both of them. I could do it like this. I could say if username equals my name, then also check if the password is equal to password. Print, you may enter. This if statement over here is what's known as a nested if statement. It's nested inside this one, which means it will only run if this condition is true. I can also do multiple else statements within it. So I'll do else, print, incorrect, and what we'll do is we'll copy these two and we'll ask the user to enter it again. We can also do another else statement for the top one, and again we can just copy and paste this to print it out, making sure that the indentation is the same. So notice that the lines are here. This line indicates that this else belongs to this if, and this else belongs to this if. This nested if statement block is nested inside this one, but the else statement over here is not. Now, if we run this program, and I write it in my name, you'll notice it goes inside when I type in the right username and password. And then it checks this password over here and says you may enter. If I run this program again and I get the username right, but I type in the password incorrect, it comes out over here as incorrect, and then it asks me to enter my username again. This is what I mean by programming reading from top to bottom. Now, if I wanted to continue this, I would then have to copy all of this and paste it in here. But there's a much easier way to do this, which we'll learn about in a later lesson for iteration. Now, what if we want to shorten all this code? There's a way that we can join this statement inside this statement, because realistically, we'll always be checking to see if both the username and password are correct. To do this, we're going to introduce a new type of operator called a Boolean operator. This is what you can use to join two conditions or two or more conditions. So let's change this a little bit. I'll get rid of this, and I'll make sure that this is below this if statement, because that's important. And over here, I'm going to write and. And is known as a Boolean operator. We have three we can use: and, or, and we can also use not. If I do and, it means that both this condition and this condition have to be true for this to work. If I use or, it means either this condition has to be true or this condition can be true. And not is the opposite of true. So with this, we can shorten our codes to much fewer lines. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you have found it helpful.